Hey, Jose, it's 12:59. We'll start at 1.
All right, you got it. And Susan, you got you're going to cover for me after I leave, right?
Correct. Excuse me. Correct.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Jason, I have 1 o'clock on my clock, so let's go and get started.
Okay.
All right. Good afternoon, members of the MAG Active Transportation Committee. Let's go and get the meeting started. As a reminder, please mute your mics when not speaking to eliminate any feedback noise. Because this is a virtual meeting, a roll call vote will be taken for each action item on the agenda. An opportunity for the public to comment on the agenda was provided ahead of the meeting. Jason, did we receive any comments from the public?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you, Jason. All right, Jason, let's go ahead and take roll call, please.
Great, thank you. Grant Anderson, I see you're there.
Yes, here.
Thank you. Bob Bean. Bob Bean. Kathy Borges, I think you're sitting in for Jason today.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Stacy Ridge Denzik.
I'm here. Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you. Marielle Brown. Marielle. Nathan Chadwick. Oh, I hear you. Okay, thanks. Nathan Chadwick.
Hey Jason, it's Omar Peters of Adam Metro. I'm filling in for Nathan today. He's on PTO.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Stephen Chang. I think I saw his name there.
Here.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you. Susan's here. Jason Crampton is here. Stephen Esther.
I'm here, Jason.
Thank you. Tiffany Halperin. Tiffany. Ann Haram Basic, I see that she's here.
I'm here.
Thank you. Jason Harris, Paradise Valley. Jeff King, I believe he couldn't make this meeting. Larry Kirch. Larry. Ashley Knutson.
Here.
Thank you. Donna Lewandowski. Jose Macias.
Present.
Thank you. Jessica May.
I'm here.
Thank you. Christine McMurdy.
I am here.
Thank you. Randy Proch.
Yep, here.
Thank you. Woodrow Scouten. Woodrow. Ward Stanford. Ward. Molly Benton.
I'm here.
For all those who don't know, Molly is the new representative from Maricopa County Department of Public Health. Kenneth Steele moved on. Nathan Williams.
Yes.
Robert Weisner. Ryan Wozniak. Ryan. And Mr. Robert Yabes.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason, and welcome, Molly. We look forward to working with you when we get together again. So, all right, let's move on to item number 2 on the agenda, the approval of the minutes. So this is the action item. So approval of the July 21st, 2020 Active Transportation Committee meeting. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Okay, and that was, who is this?
Robert Yabes.
Robert Yabes. Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, this is Jason O'Chandler.
Okay, all right, so we have a first from Robert and second from Jason. All those in favor say aye, or are we taking a roll call, Jason?
Yeah, let me just do a roll call real quick.
All right, let's do a roll call. Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. Grant Anderson, yay or nay?
Aye. Yay.
Thank you. Kathy Borquez, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, Stacy,
Yes.
Marielle,
Yes.
Omar,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Susan Conclu,
Yes.
Steve Esther,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
Grant. I already did that, right? Yes, okay, sorry. Ashley,
Yes.
Jose,
Aye, yes.
Jessica,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Nathan.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Jason. So motion passes. So let's move on to item number 3, which is an action item. Presentation, review, and recommendation for approval of the fiscal year 2021 MAG Design Assistance Project Application Selections. I believe this is gonna be you, Jason.
That's correct.
All right, go ahead and take it over, please.
Okay, thank you. Okay, David Worley, can you please unveil the rankings for me, please? Show that. Thank you. If there's any way to increase the size of that at all, but thank you very much. Okay, so everybody, as maybe some of the people on the committee are new, this is a process by which the committee itself grades all of the applications that are submitted. So this is how it came out. As you can see, there was $500,000 available, and there were 8 projects that were funded fully. There was $5,000, about $5,500 left over. So we're going to probably just go ahead and take that $5,500 and throw it into closeout, unless there's, Avondale was the next one down, and the $5,500 would not fund their $22,000 design assistance ask. So we were probably just going to go ahead and take that $5,500 and give it back to for John's group to use for closeout, unless Avondale has an objection to that. But Avondale, I don't believe, is on the call. So in that case,
yes, Jason, can you hear me? I am.
Okay. So is there any objection to that from Avondale?
I'm going to have to say no objection at this point. I wasn't involved in their discussions on this, so
Okay.
if it's that much short, I'd say we're okay with that.
Okay. So that's the list, and the remaining projects the projects that are under that red line, as has been done in the last couple of years, should funding come available as a result of a closeout or anything, those projects would be eligible, and those members would have to provide an email saying that they would like to be considered for additional funding should it become available. So this is the list, and people can ask questions if they'd like, or we can get a motion.
All right, thank you, Jason. All right, let's go ahead and open up for questions. Anybody have any questions regarding results?
So I
Okay.
funding 7.
We're funding, yes, I'm sorry, 7. I counted agency as the first one. That's true. Correct, 7.
Okay. All right, so Jason, so the Avondale, the pedestrian facility on Lower Bucket, that's not going to get funded, am I correct?
Correct, correct,
Okay, so we're at 7.
correct.
Okay, is there any other questions from the board members, committee members, sorry?
I have some general comments. This is Susan. I have general comments about the applications. If this is the time to give those comments.
Yes, sure, go ahead.
Okay. I appreciate everyone's time preparing applications and scoring them, but I've been noticing things over the years and I see them each year, but the applications that I give the most points to have certain things in common. And that's also a hint to the applications that don't have these things. And this may just be the way I score, but I would encourage people to be mindful of this. To give complete information, it's the little things like telling the linear length of the project so that people understand what they're reviewing, giving a lot of detail, especially on that first question that asks what the project actually is, explaining your project area clearly, especially for people who aren't familiar with that location or that city in general. It's, I think it's pretty challenging to know all parts of the valley, no matter how much we try. Also listing the connecting existing bikeways and destinations, especially again, if we were able to submit more detailed maps like we do with other types of projects, that would help. But if we can't give that context, then it really helps to be told about that and also tell about the residential areas surrounding, what are they? Are they multifamily, single family? What are we looking at? It's always appreciated to get the letters of support from the partners. And I still think it's good that it's not required, but I think it's very helpful. And telling about how many transit routes and stops are within a quarter mile or half mile. Don't just say, yes, there's transit, but tell us about that. You definitely have room in all of the text boxes to add this information. And it'd be helpful to hear more about when it talks about vehicular conflicts. Some don't have any, which is great, but the ones that explain at least the types of vehicular issues with bikes and peds even nearby can help to tell how this project can prevent or address that type of issue. And then the ones that included a map in your photo attachments was helpful. I think it'd be good if we could do 6 photos and a map in the future, but it's just the little details. Like when you tell me, yes, this will help the demographics that we just mentioned. When you tell us how it's going to help them, that makes a big difference. If you just state that it's going to help them with 300 characters, you've just thrown away 1,000 extra characters that you could elaborate on. So I appreciate all of the projects that were submitted. I think it's always good, the more of us that can try to get projects designed. So thank you. And I was also in a bad mood when I was scoring, but I tried to be very consistent.
Thank you, Susan, for those comments. I'll follow up with Jason later on those things. All right, any other comments from the committee members?
I have a comment that's also a question. I really enjoyed Tempe's application. I wasn't sure that it was really fulfilled the purpose of the grant, but I was wondering, or of the funding opportunities, wondering if there was a funding opportunity that would be more appropriate for Tempe's application, or if there would be interest in doing something like this that would encompass several communities in the valley.
This is Christine. I'm sorry, I had a hard time hearing. Are you talking about Tempe's application?
Yes, yes.
I totally agree with you. And I was hoping this would come up because I know, Robert, you've tried to do this in the past. I think this is something that this should be done by MAG, and it should be some kind of guideline for all of us. I really agree. I thought it's such a great idea. it just doesn't seem to fit in this forum.
I really appreciate it. We tried. I mean, the problem with the way doing it on a regional basis is by the time we get our act together as a region, it's really pretty far away from when we actually start needing the project. So I did try to make it sound regional, which it would have if I got funded. But yeah, I understand it doesn't fit the guidelines. And thank you for bringing it up. I really appreciate it.
And Jason, this is Jason Crampton. It wouldn't be unprecedented for MAG to take a design assistance application like this and do a regional study out of it. About 10 years ago, I submitted for a rail crossing project, and really what we ended up doing was MAG worked with us and developed regional guidelines for pedestrian rail crossings, and it benefited the region, and a number of sites were targeted with that. And so it's a really good regional study, but maybe something like that could be undertaken by MAG again for this process, which is really a more of a regional issue.
All right, guys, thank you for those comments. Obviously, we'll take them under advisement. All right, any more questions or comments from the committee members before we make a motion? All right, hearing none, do I have a motion? I'm good, sorry. Let's see, do I have a motion to approve the list?
Motion to approve. So moved.
Okay, Robert's first. Do we have a second?
Second, this is Susan.
Thank you, Susan. So we have a first from Robert from Tempe, and we have a second from Susan from Scottsdale. Jason, I believe we're going to do a roll call again. Vote.
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, Grant, yes or no?
Yes.
Kathy, yes or no?
Yes.
Stacy? Stacy Bridge Denzek. Marielle?
Yes.
Omar?
I'm sorry, Stacy said yes.
Thank you. Omar?
Sorry.
Yes. Yes.
Stephen Chang?
Yes.
Jason Crampton?
Yeah.
Stephen Esther?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Jose?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Randy?
Sure.
Ward? Ward, I know you're there. I'll assume that's a yes since you were in the list. Molly?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
Nathan?
Yes.
And yes, Mr. Robert. Yes, we're good.
All right, guys, thank you very much. Motion passes. Thank you, Jason. All right, so let's move on to item number 4. But before we get in, I just let you guys know that I have to leave here about 1:30. So I apologize if you hear me hang up on you guys. And then Suzanne's going to take over the chair responsibilities. All right, so number 4, we have the Texas Transportation Institute, TTI review of the MAG bicycle count locations. Do we have anybody from this agency here, Jason? Or who's doing the presentation?
John Turner from TTI will be.
Yes, I'm here. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
All right. Hi, everybody. This is Sean Turner from Texas A&M. Hopefully, you have heard us talk about this already. So Arizona DOT had hosted a webinar earlier, I believe it was in the spring or the summer, and then we had a longer training session where we talked about the scalable risk assessment. I want to give you a very quick reminder and then tell you a little bit about what we're up to in the MAG region in the next month or so. Next slide. And so here's my quick reminder. What is this whole scalable risk thing? It's really a method to look at different scales. Hit the next key, right? So it's a way to look at risk at specific intersections on segments, but also even if you want to look at risk at a much higher level, hit the advance, please. If, for example, you wanted to look at areas within a region, if you wanted to look at things on a network-wide basis, or maybe even if you wanted to look at things on an MPO basis or even a statewide basis. So that's the scalable part. It's basically putting together a framework that you can use for all these different scales. The risk part, next slide, or hit the advance. The risk is all about exposure, because exposure is a key part of risk. And if you want to get exposure for this wide range of scales, you really have to look at different ways to get that. Advance, please. And so if you're looking at specific facilities and you're really looking at maybe a limited number of those facilities, say in the hundreds or so, you can do counts. And in fact, that's exactly what MAG is planning to do in the next year or so. If, however, advance, please. If you want to do things, or if you only need that exposure at a more aggregate basis, say you only need exposure estimates for census tract zones or counties or MPO regions, then travel surveys can be a quick and easy way to estimate that exposure. There is a middle ground, advance, and that is estimation models. And I think, I'm not sure, but I think that is what may be in store, that MAG has in store in the coming years, right? Because it sounds like what y'all are going to do is you're going to be doing traffic counts at about, or no, I'm sorry, bike and pedestrian counts at about 500 locations. I think ultimately you would probably like to be able to say something about everywhere, not just those 500 locations. Those 500 are important, but we want to get everywhere. And the way that we do that is with estimation models. One of the most common models that we talked about in the previous webinar is a direct demand model. It's a simple regression model. You look at land use and the activities around a count, and you basically create a regression model. Next slide. And so we, as part of our FHWA project, we've been doing these webinars. We've also been offering free technical assistance, and Jason and Wang Zhang at MAG took us up on that offer, and they've asked us to do something specific for them related to these 500 counts, which is essentially, next slide, I'm going to turn this over to Michael. It's essentially to help with a part of this, what can be kind of a complicated process in scalable risk. We're looking at basically how representative all of these 500 locations are of the different characteristics that you would use to estimate. And so next slide, and I'm going to let Michael give just a brief introduction in terms of what we're going to be doing over the next month or two.
Thank you, Sean. This is Michael. Yes, I'll be doing most of the spatial analysis to basically connect the local data that we've gotten from Wong, from MAG, and connect that with the count sites so we can understand how representative those count sites are to the MAG area. And so some of those variables that could be potentially influential in a demand model are listed here. Fortunately, most of those are already available in spatial data format, and so the effort shouldn't be too much work. So next slide, please. So here, the next steps is going to be the spatial linkages. Like I said, on the previous slide, you saw some distributions. We're going to be calculating those along with proportions to make sure that the count sites are representative, like I said, of the local area. And that's just going to be studying the area in terms of what we've gotten from Wong and connecting those to the sites and seeing how they compare. Hopefully that was clear enough and short enough. So If you have any questions, just let me know. That's the, I think the last slide we have, Sean, is that correct?
Yeah, that's the extent of what we're planning to do. Again, the gist of it is MAG is going to do several hundred, up to 500 counts. And we're going to look at basically how representative are those counts. Because again, if you want to develop a model in the future that you could use to estimate outside of those 500, if you don't have the budget, say, to count those 500 every year or every 2 years, then estimation models can be very useful, and they've been developed in a number of other areas. But a model is only as good as the data that's fed into it. And so that's primarily what we're going to be focusing on, is trying to make sure that those very influential variables that can be used to predict demand, that we have a good representation from those on the data collection sites that have been suggested by the member agencies.
And Susan, yeah, hold on, Sean and Susan, I just wanted to jump in real quick. So just to assure everybody, these are the counts when we asked, everybody to provide their, top count locations. These are the counts that were provided by the committee. So that's those locations are those that you submitted for that process.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thoroughly confused everybody. Everyone's just happy that they're going to get some counts here in a year or so.
So Sean, if we have a second, can you go back one slide, Jason? So here I was able to actually link the 497 count sites with the average income information that we got from MAG. And we can see that the distributions are pretty close, fairly similar to one another. The top one represents the entire MAG area in terms of the MAZs. And the bottom is what we see when we link that average income with the count sites. So basically what we're trying to do is make sure that the count sites reflect or are representative and are similar to how the region is made up in terms of average income or land use or closeness to bike ped infrastructure. What we don't want is all of these count sites in one of those combination of factors, because that would just produce a very bad demand estimation in the end. So.
And Sean, after you do some more analysis, you could come back, right, to the to Active Transportation Committee and give them some other information.
Yes, I'm guesstimating that we could come back at your next meeting, if you're meeting on a monthly basis, or is it bi-monthly?
Well, tentatively monthly. We will have an meeting month, and probably we'll have another meeting sometime October, probably. So
we can definitely give a short progress report next month, if not a full report in a month.
Okay.
Hi, Jason. This is Wang Zhang. I just want to chime in a little bit regarding this 500 locations count scheduling. So originally we scheduled to start in the past the spring of 2020, but obviously COVID-19 kind of pushed us back, and we're still waiting for traffic to recover to the certain degree that we could call a new normal. So we're monitoring that very close on a weekly basis. We have not made a decision in terms of when we're going to start this counting of those 500 locations. We only know it will take us about 2 seasons or a full year to complete all of them. And hopefully we can start counting, from late September, early October. That obviously is going to be determined by the COVID, not us. And we'll just keep you guys updated on in terms of when we can initially start the countings. Thank you.
Wong, is the elementary and high school, are kids back in school, or are they given the option to do at home?
As far as I know, most of the districts are still offering classes online.
Okay.
I think most of them are offering mandatory online classes until the end of the September. So we'll be having students working from home or learning from home for the next month and a half. And that's why, as I said, we need to revisit it once we know what's the next step, which I think it's really important. Thank you for you to bringing up that for students to be able to go fully back to the campus. That's one of the important factors we need to consider in terms of when we can start the counting.
Yeah, this was today was the first day back to school in our local school district. They are offering the option, but just anecdotally out on the sidewalks, you're running around the neighborhood, there were a lot of kids walking, biking to school, so forth.
Mr. Chair?
He might have already left, so
Oh,
go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Margaret. Go ahead.
Madam Chairwoman?
Yes.
I just had a quick comment on the question that was just asked. This is Margaret Herrera. I'm the safety liaison to the Active Transportation Committee from the MAG Transportation Safety Program. Just a comment on that. We are, we meaning the safety staff, due to our efforts with Safe Routes to School, we are coming up with a kind of a tracking system on the different districts on, you know, what their protocols are for hybrid or in-person class attendance or either online. So we're trying to track that right now as part of an effort. So that might be a useful tool when we complete that. We have a lot of districts, so that's going to take us a little bit. But and then I had a quick question for Wong. Are we at all taking a look at ridership? I know you're tracking on a weekly basis the traffic, but when it comes to bicyclists and pedestrians, have we thought about looking at ridership? Is something maybe we could get from the Valley Metro webpage and looking at that to insert as another criteria when we decide to go back and do bike and ped counts.
Hi, Margaret. This is Wang. Yeah, that's a very good comment. I think we can certainly track that through Valley Metro's website. I think they produced a monthly ridership report. And I think we're at like 30% to 40%. There's also other kind of data sources can help us, you know, visit that situation. So that's definitely going to be one of the factors we need to consider because that's highly relevant to the non-motorized travel.
Thank you, Wang.
And Madam Chair, I believe Omar has his hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't see any of those. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So I actually have a question on this slide, but first regarding the data. So do reach out to us if you need anything more specific, because I think we do have the route level data available online. But if you want any station-based or bus stop-based data, we can get more specific information for the count process.
Thank you.
Yes, on this slide, I was a little confused what the transit infrastructure trip generator proximity meant. I think all of the variables on here, I agree it's data that's readily available, but I was a little confused by that one.
Yes, I'm sorry. That's a mishap on my part. It should be a separate point. Trip generator proximity will be a separate point.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, thanks.
Certainly. Thank
you. Does anyone else have any questions? Now I found how to see if someone's hand is raised, so I don't see any, but if anyone else wants to add anything before we move on.
Have any questions after this presentation or starts to think about stuff? Just go ahead and email me and we can get in touch with Sean and you know, get your questions answered.
All right, that sounds good. So we'll move on to the next item, member updates and requests for future agenda items. If anyone has any, please raise your hand or jump in.
Madam Chairwoman?
Yes.
I just have a report from the safety side at MAG. I just wanted to let all of you know, if you didn't know already, that we issued the call for projects for the fiscal year 2023 and 2024 transportation alternatives, non-infrastructure. That would be the Safe Routes to School projects for either a study, which would be the Priority 1 type project, and the Priority 2 type project would be the support activity type project. So those are included on our webpage. If you have any more information, you can feel free to contact me directly or through Jason. Thank you.
Thank you,
Oh,
Margaret.
and I guess I should mention, I did leverage a little bit more time for development of those applications this round. So those will be due October 1st, which is a Thursday, 10 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you. And Margaret, in that call, there's some other funding types, like different from those that are also out right now too, right? In case anyone's interested in those.
Yeah, there are. I don't have them in front of me. The one other that I do know about is the road safety program. That's a new funding program that we initiated about this time last year to fund short-term immediate needs safety improvement projects. So those are also due on October 10th. We do have an RSP. RSP stands for Roadway Safety Program webpage. And again, they can contact me regarding those. I apologize. I don't have a lot of details on the other programs necessarily. I think one of them is the Sweet Sweepers. I know there's a Pinal County Bridge and Arterial project funding. So you can get more information those on the TIP modal page.
Great, thank you.
Margaret, this is Patrick, Madam Chair. This is Patrick Stone. I'm the TIP supervisor.
Oh, good. Patrick's here.
Yeah, I'm on. So we actually have a number of calls out right now. As Margaret said, we have the street sweepers, we have paving for unpaved roads, the roadway safety program, the Pinal County Arterial Bridge. There's an Avondale Goodyear Transit program. I'm missing one. I will have to think on it, but there's one. So most of the applications are due September 10th. And then, as Margaret said, the other ones are due in October for roadway safety and the transit.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's just good to always get that information, even if it doesn't seem like it would be bike pedestrian related. I know sometimes some of them could have a little bit included that might impact those programs. So thank you.
No, thank you.
Does anyone have any other updates or requests for future agenda items?
Hey, Susan.
Yes.
This is Robert from Tempe. The underpass under McClintock along Rio Salado is open.
Yay.
You haven't
Good
visited
job.
them yet. The connection between Western Canal to Highline Canal is also open.
Great. Thank you. And all the ASU students sound like they're back too. So
yes, they
good
are.
luck with all of those different modes out there. Okay, anyone else have anything? Or try to hold on to it till next month. Go ahead.
Susan, I just wanted to jump in real quick regarding Marielle's request last week about the active transportation demonstration project idea that we had discussed months ago. MAG, we don't have a budget for that right now. So that's something that we would have to discuss further and possibly have something for the next budget cycle if we were able to do that. So I just wanted to let everybody know, and Marielle specifically, that that is still something that's in the ether. It's just, it would have to be a new project request and approved. And we would need to have, some criteria and a program kind of lined up. So we'll talk more about that moving forward, but right now we just don't have the funding in the budget. We don't have the funding in the budget for that right now. So as we move forward, we'll talk about it some more.
Okay, thank you. And then I'm double checking to make sure I don't miss anyone. It doesn't look like anyone else has their hand raised. So I take that to mean there's no other requests for future items or updates to give. So we will move on for adjournment. And I always have this question. Do we actually make a motion and vote on it? Or do we just, I never know how this works.
Yeah,
at
we
the
have,
end.
we need a first and a second, but we don't have to take a roll call, is from what I understand.
Okay, that makes sense. Looks like I'll hopefully we'll see each other at the next meeting, September 15th, tentatively scheduled, but we'll wait to hear from you, Jason, on that one. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion by Christine McMurdy.
Thank you. Anyone for second?
Second.
Second is Jason.
I heard two of you and I only heard one name. Jason
Crampton.
Crampton, was that you?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and then we don't vote. It sounds like, Jason.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Stay well, stay hydrated. Wear your sunscreen.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good afternoon.
Thanks, Robert.